Russia has invaded Ukraine. How will this invasion end? Let me give you a prediction.
Take effing action, put it together, and subscribe to Tom Penn's channel on YouTube now. Yeah, I like it. It's crazy.
So today is Sunday, February 27th, and it's right now around 2 o'clock 20 minutes in the afternoon. This is day 3 or day 4 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And as of right now, the Ukrainian government continues to hold on to the capital of Kyiv. And the Russian military is unable to take over the country. You see, Vladimir Putin believes that he can take Kyiv in 48 hours and force President Zelensky of Ukraine to surrender, and thereby he can put in his own puppet government, and the war would end, and Ukraine will be under Russian control, and the international community will have no choice but to accept that situation, and that will be the end of it. But it's not how things are turning out, because as you see, the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian people is putting up a really good fight. They're pushing the Russian invaders outside of the capital. They cannot come into the capital and capital city of Kyiv. And this is now day 4. We continue to see President Zelensky go on Facebook announcing to his people that they will defend the country to the end no matter what happens. He's in the city. He will not leave the capital, and he's going to fight with his people. Three days ago, I would have predicted that Russia would take over Ukraine probably very, very quickly. What is happening is that, one, the Ukrainian people really want to defend their country. They really do not want to go back to the old Soviet Union way of life. They don't want to be part of this Russian Federation, right? They want to be their own country. They want to be like the West. They like democracy. They have been a democratic country for 20 years. They like their freedom. They like their freedom of press. They like their way of life. And they do not want to be part of Russia. And people are willing to take up arms, take up weapons, do whatever it takes to defend their country. This is something that I think a lot of people did not predict, and that's why they're putting up a really, really, really tough fight for the Russians. And second is that a lot of people did not predict that the Russian military is actually not that capable. You see, we consider Russia as one of the great superpowers, probably the top 2 in terms of military capability. But this actually proven to be not quite true as well, because as Russia entered Ukraine, what people saw was they did not really have any modern warfare tactics or strategies. They're still relying on World War II style invasion. So they sent a lot of tanks into the country. Yes, they shot some cruise missiles into Ukraine. They had some airplanes flying over Ukraine, but that was quite limited. And they did not have the kind of capability that the United States had, when they went into Afghanistan or Iraq. And so the world saw that, hey, you know what? The Russian military isn't that capable. It's actually not that good. And that's why they're able to be blocked by the Ukrainian military, because actually the Russian military isn't that capable. And in fact, they suffered a lot of casualties. I think the last numbers were 4,000 Russians, military personnel suffered casualties. The Russian military made a strategic error by using a World War II style strategy to enter Ukraine. Basically, they sent thousands of tanks and armored vehicles into Ukraine. Very World War II style. They think they can just drive a lot of tanks into the capital city and take it over, declare they won, and that will be the end of it. But what actually happened was The Ukrainian had the better strategy of actually not defending the border. You see, the Ukrainian military did not try to push them outside of Ukraine. They basically allowed the Russians to come in. As they get into the city, it becomes much, much harder because they have to go into the streets, into the aisles, and that's where the Ukrainian military launched their ambush and were able to kill so many of the Russian soldiers and their vehicles. And that is how the war is being waged. The Ukrainians are willing to fight a urban style warfare. Unfortunately, the Russians are still fighting a very traditional war. So what do I believe will happen? I believe that the Ukrainian people will continue to defend their cities, especially their capital, and they will put up a really, really good fight. And also they're employing the right strategies, making the Russian invasion very, very difficult for the Russians. And what will happen is that now that international community sees that Russian military is not that capable, now they're willing to increase their sanctions. They're willing to kick Russia out of the SWIFT system. We actually talk about the SWIFT system in another video. It is the international bank wire transfer system. So if you want to send money across countries, that's what you use. They're going to cut Russia out of that system, basically make Russia unable to do any form of international commerce. And that is going to really hurt the Russian people, Russian businesses, Russia oil and gas, and you're seeing that the West, US, France, Germany, of course the traditional allies like Canada, UK, Australia, they're all united against Russia. And now they're willing to increase their sanctions, they're willing to put more military weapons on the ground for Ukrainian people, and they're gonna give more aid because now they know that they actually might win this one. All right, now they're willing to invest. Before they're not sure. Before, US is like, let's go kick some ass, right? But France and Germany not quite sure because they still rely on a lot of Russian oil and gas. But now all the countries in the West are now aligned. Now they're going back to their ideology, their values and their principles. The values and principles of democracy, freedom, and that no one country should invade another. Now they all follow that one line. And they are all going to punish Russia for this, and they're all going to aid Ukraine. Ukraine's going to get a lot of support from the West to fight this war. And this war will probably last a long time. If the Ukrainian people can defend for the first 7 days, you're going to see a very long defensive war being fought by the Ukrainians, and this is going to last a long time. Eventually, this is going to increase discontent in Russia as well, because the Russian people doesn't want this fight. The Russian people doesn't want to kill their own brothers in Ukraine, right? You're going to see more and more Russian people standing up and say, hey, you know what? This is stupid. And they're going to go against their government, and Vladimir Putin is going to be under a lot of pressure. In fact, this may force a regime change, meaning that Vladimir Putin might be pushed out of office, out of power. And that would be my prediction, that this war is going to last a long time, and that eventually the discontent in the world, the opposition in the world, plus opposition from Russian people will push Putin out of power. And that will be a good thing, because we don't like totalitarian regimes. We don't like dictators. We like democracy and freedom. And this sends a strong signal to countries that want to invade other countries. For example, China wants to invade Taiwan. It's a signal to them saying that, hey, this is not cool. If you do that, the international community will come to your destruction. And I think that is a good thing. And how can the West help Ukraine right now? I think Ukraine needs two things. They need military support. And even though right now on TV, you're not seeing a lot of military support from the West, but I can tell you this, actually there are some. I know that my country, Canada, they already sent their special operation forces, the Canadian Special Operation Regiment, into Ukraine 3 months ago. They already sent personnel into Ukraine 3 months ago. And they are already in the country helping Ukrainians. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's support and training, or maybe more. Who knows? I'm sure Canada is not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of unofficial support being provided by the West. And what Ukrainians really need today is two types of weapons. One is the Javelin anti-tank missile. So this is a thing that you basically carry on your shoulder, and you press a button and it'll kill a tank. It'll destroy a tank. And the system is so easy to use. You just aim at the tank, you push the button, and then you run away. This missile is smart enough to go up in the air and come down and hit the tank and completely destroy the tank or any armored vehicles. This is what Ukrainian needs, because they have to defend a lot of tanks. And two is that they need the Stinger missile. This is surface to air. Again, this is like a shoulder mounted. Basically, you put it on your shoulder and you shoot at an airplane, and the system is smart enough. You just aim at the airplane, you push a button, the missile will find the airplane. You shoot and forget and you leave. These two type of weapon systems Ukrainians need urgently right now. If they have this, they can definitely win this war, because all they have to do is to defend their country, hold out as long as possible until the international community turns on Putin, until the Russian people turns on Putin. And that is why in Russia right now, Putin wants to control Facebook, because he knows his own people doesn't like this war, and they are talking right now. He wants to control that public opinion inside Russia. Russia's only ally today is China. So when the whole world is trying to contain Russia, sanction Russia, and punish Russia, the only country in the world today that is somewhat supporting Russia is China. China is saying, hey, I will buy your wheat. I will buy your oil and gas. I will pay you. And this is why when there's a threat of invasion, every country is trying to pull their own people out of Ukraine. China did not do that, because China believes in the Russian narrative. They're talking. China knows the invasion is coming, and China believes that Russia will win. That's why the Chinese government did not pull their own people out of Ukraine, because they think Russia will win and everything will be fine. But now the situation is not what's predicted. Now China is in a very difficult position. Do they continue to support Russia and possibly face the anger and punishment from the West? Or now is the time to change their position? You know, China and Russia, they're not really friends based on principles or value or ideology. They are friends of convenience. They're only friends because they have something to benefit from each other. When that does not exist anymore, you will see China turn so fast on Russia. That is the difference between friends of convenience, like China and Russia, and permanent friends. Friends built based on the same values, like, for example, US, Canada, UK, and Australia. They believe in the same thing. They don't care about what benefit they can give to each other, because they believe in the same thing. They will always be aligned and do the same thing. All right, so my prediction is that this war will continue to go on for quite some time. There's going to be a lot of casualties. It's going to be a very, very, very sad story. There's going to be a lot of human suffering. But this will completely change international opinions. Even inside Russia, people will start turning on Putin, and possibly the Russian regime will change. There might be a new Russian government. And that is a great thing for democracy and freedom and the free world. Take some fucking action. Let's see if my predictions come true, and don't be a fucktard.